Hey friends, we are back for another episode of the Knitting Mamas podcast. Do you feel like your mornings are a blur of chaos and rush? So in today's episode, I'm going to share my first 3 steps to building a morning routine that will fill your cup before the day even begins. You can trust me that these are very simple steps that you can try for just 1 week. And I challenge you to actually try them for 1 week every single day, and they will change the way you start each day. So let's dive into how you can find more peace and intention in your mornings. Let's go. Hey there, Mama. Welcome to the Knitting Mamas podcast. If you're a mom who's tired of feeling exhausted and longing for some well-deserved self-care and rest, you are in the right place. I know that finding time for yourself as a busy mom can feel like an impossible puzzle. But guess what? You don't have to compromise anymore. Hi, I'm your host, Nadine Medina, and just like you, I am a mom, wife, and also a happy knitter. Over my 15 years of motherhood, I have been on a journey to discover how to truly recharge without the guilt and the never-ending quest for perfection. The secret? It's all about progress, not perfection. By focusing on simple routines, natural wellness solutions, and the cozy art of knitting, I found the path to feeling whole and content. And on this podcast, I am sharing it all with you so you can do the same. Are you ready to find simple solutions to set yourself free from mom guilt, to take more time for yourself to truly rest, and to use your knitting skills for a mindful routine that creates space in your life so you can breathe easier? Let's take a deep breath, grab those knitting needles, and say goodbye to mom stress. Together, we'll create a supportive community that encourages you to prioritize self-care while juggling all your responsibilities. Sound good? Let's do this. By the way, if you're loving the podcast and you happen to tune in every week for some inspiration and knitting tips, I would love for you to leave a quick 5-star review on Apple, because it's as small as it might seem to you, but it's a huge deal because it will help other mamas who desperately need more time for themselves and to find a creative outlet, find the podcast, and they can also then join our community. So would love for you to scroll down when you're done listening to this episode and leave a quick 5-star review on Apple. And thanks so much in advance for doing that. All right, knitting mamas, I am so excited to talk about one of my favorite topics today, morning routines. As a mom, I know how hard it is to carve out time for yourself, especially in the mornings. But what's also really great is that we have a really great opportunity to create some intentional and small, simple shifts. And you can have a morning that actually feels peaceful and grounded, setting the tone for the rest of your day. And how does that sound? I know it sounds like a gigantic promise, but I'm not saying that it's going to be perfect every day, but I will tell you that you can make some true changes, and it does not take a lot of effort. It doesn't take a lot of time. And I promise that if you follow these 3 steps, you will see a difference. And I'm just so excited to get into this. So how did I start my morning routines? It's a long time ago. I've been doing a morning routine for the better part of 12 years, maybe 13 years. And definitely before we moved into the house that I'm in now, because I do remember it was when I only had 2 little ones. And so it's for sure more than 12 years ago. It's when I started kind of weaving more intention into my mornings, and it has evolved over the years. And, this is why I'm able to now give you some really tactical 3 steps, simple steps that you can use tomorrow morning, literally tomorrow morning. Do this tomorrow morning and the next week. And you can just plug them in and see how much better you feel when you do that. So I used to wake up to the sound of my kids just either screaming or calling for me, or, when they were really little, I couldn't even get a shower in. And I'm sure you guys can completely relate to that. Of course, my kids are now older, but there is a puppy now who also gets up and needs me. So I continue to have to kind of adjust my morning routine. But these 3 things generally don't change. They stay the same. They've been true and tried and true for me for so long now. And I definitely notice a difference when I skip these things and when for some reason I don't do them, which doesn't happen often because honestly, when you do something for so long, it obviously becomes a habit. So these intentional changes definitely can make a big difference for you, right? So, of course, one of my biggest game changers for me was to start the day with something that I actually enjoy doing instead of just jumping straight into the things that I have to do. So, I'm going to walk you through how we're going to do that. And I promise it's not about waking up hours earlier or doing a million things. It is about starting small with just one thing that you love and a couple other things that I'm throwing in there that are truly going to make a difference. So, let's dive in. I hope you have something to write this down with. If not, just save the episode. You can listen to it later. And also, while you're at it, share it with a friend. All right. The steps are, number 1, start with what you love doing. So, of course, you're going to have to create a little bit of time for that. We'll get to that in a little bit. But first, I want you to think about something that makes you feel truly happy and joyful. Like, it might be knitting. For me, it's oftentimes knitting. It can be journaling. It can be reading, just a novel, something that is relaxing, or maybe something that is, like, I love murder mysteries. So it's not always relaxing, but it's just so fun and I love it. But it could also just be sipping your coffee in silence. Maybe you're at that stage where you're like, you know what? I get none of that. So I can't even think about something, this thing that I love doing. I'm a mom who doesn't even feel like there's time to do anything that I used to do, which more on that later on. I'm actually so excited about that. But this is your moment before the chaos. So I want you to pick something that actually makes you happy, that makes you excited, that fills you up, and that you can think of as this, like, I look forward to this, right? And if you're feeling lost in motherhood and you aren't sure what brings you joy anymore, which I completely get it. I have been there. You're definitely not alone. This is exactly why I actually am creating a program. Super excited about that. It's coming out later this year, where I'm going to basically hold your hand and we're going to deep dive into rediscovering what lights you up. What is it that you don't even remember doing, what you used to love, how to make time for it, and how to weave it into your life on a regular basis so that you can continue to feel that connectedness, to feel that joy, to feel that happiness, and just do that thing. So I hope you have something that you enjoy doing. And if not, maybe you can start kind of becoming curious, take 5 minutes before bed and think about, okay, what did I used to actually enjoy doing? Because I know I have definitely been there when I had 2 kids that were still in diapers. They were in diapers at the same time. They're not twins, but they're not very far apart in age. So I totally get it. Like, there is almost no time left to even think of what you used to enjoy, but it's there. It's somewhere down there. So give yourself just a few minutes here or there to kind of get curious and think about it. If you know what lights you up, what you love doing, let's keep going. Okay. The next thing, super important. Number 2, charge your phone in another room. So our phones can be major distractions. You guys have heard me talk about it, and I stand firmly by that. When we have our phone, the first thing that we reach for in the morning, or even the first thing or the last thing that we put down at night, it will take over your time. So the second step is super simple. Charge your phone in another room and don't look at it for the last hour before bed. And the first, hopefully you can make it an hour after you get up. If it's only 30 minutes, I think that's a huge accomplishment. And if you feel like even that's too much because you need to look at it for work, or you need to look at it because of kids' notification for school, whatever it might be, try 15-minute increments. If you can make 15 minutes in the morning without your phone, literally don't even grab your phone. Don't even touch it. It will make a huge difference, right? Definitely. If you want to start even simpler than that, and you're like, I can't do that, I have to look at this, I have to look at that, and there's messages that I need to get back to, try to make those first 15 minutes at least social media free. Okay? But those first 15 minutes, or if you can get it to 30 minutes, it can free up so much valuable time for you that isn't wasted on someone else's agenda. Because if you're just replying to other people first thing in the morning, you immediately are giving away the control over your time in the morning, right? But you'd also be surprised how much calmer your mornings will feel without immediately being bombarded by notifications or social media. So turn it all off, put it in a different room. Don't even go there until you have actually done the thing that we discussed in step 1, right? Take your time to do the thing you love. And even if you're like, but I have to, yes, that leads me to step 3. Step 3, get up 15 minutes earlier. Yes. I want you to try waking up 15 minutes earlier than you normally do right now. And if you are not having a set time that you wake up, usually, in my experience at least, the kids, they do. So make the time you wake up at least 15 minutes earlier than them. If you have very little kids, it might not be possible. I'm going to say that. There are definitely seasons in our lives as moms where this can be hard, okay? If you find yourself in one of those seasons, I have an episode for you that you can listen to. It's episode 36. It's actually just a few episodes ago where I talked about a couple of ideas that you can incorporate when, your kids when they're just too little to, stay asleep, when you want to get up a little earlier for a morning routine, and just a couple of ideas of what you can do. So go ahead and listen to that. I'm going to link it up in the show notes as well. So just save it for later if you can't do that today, but it'll be totally worth it, especially if you find yourself in that season right now. But those 15 minutes, we're starting with 15. If it's going well, you can move that up later. But for now, and here's why we're only starting with 15 minutes and we're not going like, hey, get up an hour earlier. I'm not trying to set you up for failure, okay? We're trying to set ourselves up for success. And if you do a small step, it is so much more likely that it's actually going to work, that you have a success, that you have a great feeling about it, and you're going to do it again the next day. If I was to tell you, hey, get up an hour earlier, and you're like, oh, okay, sure. And you're excited and you're actually going to try doing it, but it is hard because it's an hour. And I don't think we can do that. Maybe for a day, but maybe not even. Okay. So I'm just trying to imagine that. I'm like, oh God, no, I can't get an hour earlier now, but 15 minutes. Heck yeah, I can do that. So that's where we're starting. And then we're going to use that time to do the thing that you picked in step 1, knit, journal, meditate, yoga, stretches, a walk, drink your coffee, and see how that small shift sets the tone for your day. And this is the secret. This is not this huge miracle, but it will set the tone for your day. And it does that by you not rushing out of bed thinking, oh my God, where am I? What do I have to do? I have no idea where to start and people are yelling at me. This sucks. There will be days like that, even if you have the most intentional morning routine. Take it from me. I know it. As a matter of fact, I had one of those last week where I'm like, okay, do over tomorrow. Not a big deal. But if 80 or 90% of the time you actually can make this happen and it gives you that like, oh, okay, I had some self-care time this morning. How amazing is that? And you can feel that gratitude and that, calmness wash over you. Then one day where it derails a little bit is not that big of a deal. But if 90% of the time you're like rushing around and everything is chaotic and crazy, then yes, it just sets the tone the completely wrong way for your day. So this is going to be a very intentional and a very strategic way to actually make this happen for you. It is such a small shift and a small change that I am convinced it's going to work. And I know it's going to work if you actually do it. Okay. So do this for 1 week and notice how you feel. And it's, of course, not about perfection. It's about the progress. Just like we always talk about, don't set yourself up to feel disappointed because you want this to be perfect and you want this to work every single day. It's just not going to work that way, right? So do your very best and see how it goes. But also think about the little progress that you make. If you are able to finish a cup of coffee tomorrow morning, when you haven't been able to do that in the last 2 weeks since school began, that's progress. That's a huge win. And I want you to celebrate that. Okay. So please come on over into our Knitting Mamas community on Facebook. I want to hear all about these wins. I'm going to make a post in there where you can actually comment on in the following week, and you can let us know how you're doing, how it's going. There's going to be inspiration. We're going to chime in. And if you're having any trouble, we're going to tackle it and we're going to work on it together. So head on over there. It is at the link facebook.com/groups/knittingmamas. I wish that was a shorter link. I will put it in the show notes so you can just click on that. But unfortunately, right now, I have not been able to make it any better to access, but I'm working on it. So I promise that's coming as well. So those are my 3 steps, and I hope you are going to implement them starting tomorrow. I hope this is exciting to you, especially if you've been in a season of, oh my gosh, my mornings are just so exhausting and I'm already feeling like I want to be done with the day when you're just first getting up. And of course, maybe here's a bonus tip, because we always talk about how the evening actually impacts your morning. So make sure that if you're getting up 15 minutes earlier, that you also try to go to bed 15 minutes earlier. It's just going to help you kind of offset that a little bit, especially if you're not getting a lot of sleep right now. Make sure that you make up for those 15 minutes in the evening. And I know that might actually be more of a struggle than the morning, where you actually have to get up a little bit earlier. So keep it in mind. Little bonus tip here. In fact, the second episode of the Knitting Mamas podcast back in January was exactly about that. So maybe go back and listen to that for a little bit extra inspiration, because you can totally do it. I believe in you. You can go to bed a little bit earlier for the sake of having an amazing morning. So if you're feeling ready to take control of your mornings and carve out time for those things that you love, I am so excited to share that I'm working on something special just for you. Like I just mentioned earlier in this episode, later on this year, I'll be launching a program where we'll work together to design personalized routines that fit your life as a busy mom. And you'll be walking away with a plan that not only works, but it feels amazing. Of course, we're going to incorporate knitting into the program as well. It's going to be a whole vibe of self-care, stress relief, knitting that ties the whole thing together. You're going to have a morning routine that works for you, and you're going to know how to continue it beyond the program. I'm so excited to bring this to you really soon. So stay tuned for more details, and please subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss any updates on that, as I'm going to continue to update on the podcast. If you want to get on my email list, you can do that as well. I'm actually even giving you a freebie for getting on the email list. You can pick between 2, so I'm going to put both links into the show notes, but one is your beginner's knitting playlist on YouTube. So if you're a complete beginner to knitting, that's the perfect way for you to get started. If you already know how to knit and you're like, nope, I don't need that, but you might need to figure out when you're going to incorporate your knitting hobby into your day, into your week, into your month, and you're kind of like, oh, I just don't have time, then my other free download is probably perfect for you. It gives you 6 really tactical steps on creating more time for yourself. And once again, you can find it at the link that's in the show notes. I'm going to link them both up. That will also put you on the email list automatically. And then you will be able to get all the information on the program that is coming on later this year. So are you ready to give this whole 15 minutes earlier, pick something that you love, and charge your phone in a different room? Are you ready to give it a try? So I challenge you to start tomorrow by getting up 15 minutes earlier, and then pick the thing you love and just go for it. I would love to hear how it goes. Once again, I'm going to make a post in the Knitting Mamas community over on Facebook. Link is in the show notes, and you'll get the extra support that you need over there. And until next time, happy knitting mamas and happy morning routining. Can't wait to talk to you next week. Actually, I'm talking to you on Friday. I just remembered. Knit and Tell Friday is coming up in 2 days. Hope to talk to you then. Have a wonderful day, mamas. Hey mama, I hope you've soaked up some great ideas from today's episode. Remember, a happy mom makes for a happy fam. If today's chat hit home with you, it would mean the world if you could leave a 5-star written review on iTunes. Your review will help other moms discover our community and embrace guilt-free self-care. Also, if you're scrolling through Instagram, why not snap a screenshot of this episode for your stories? Don't forget to tag me at The Knitting Mamas so that I can shout you out on my page as well. Plus, that way we can stay connected and spread the self-care magic. Oh, and have you heard about our cozy Facebook community? It's a guilt-free zone where we share relaxing routines, essential oils, and knitting adventures, and so much more. Come join us today at bit.ly/knittingmamas and let's unwind together. Until we chat again, take care, mama. And remember, looking after yourself is not selfish. It's essential for that balanced life. Catch you soon right here on the Knitting Mamas podcast.